Hello folks, welcome to this discussion about how to identify your best customers in a new market. My name is Sarah Sennett and I'm the Head of Agency Marketing at Swanky. And I am joined by Juliana Jackson, who is the Chief Evangelist at Omniconvert. Welcome, Juliana.
Hi, Sarah. Great to be here with you guys.
It's awesome to have you. I was going to say on the show, that's sort of a podcast line that I usually use, but it's great to have you here. And today, just to give our audience a bit of context, we are talking internationalization. We're talking about how to take an existing brand or a new brand into a new marketplace. So just to kick off, let's start with that discovery phase. How can a brand discover insights about a new market from either your existing international customers or from anywhere else?
Awesome question. So we work with a lot of customers from the United States that are having international shipping. So obviously, when you are selling internationally, you will always get customers from different parts of the world. So once you identify as an e-commerce brand that you have enough sample size purchasing from you from a different geography outside of your home country, it's very important for you to start digging deep into those customer segments. If you are planning to open the market there officially, it's very important to get the sample size of customers from that region and segment them based on their lifetime value and identify which are the most valuable customers there, because that's your way to understand what is the fit that you will have in that market. So when you're selling in the US and you're selling in Europe, or you're selling in Australia, or you're selling in, China or New Zealand, it's going to be a different culture, different social economical aspect, and different, legislation when it comes to e-commerce. So besides the operational and logistics part of it, you want to make sure that you are reaching the right people, and you want to make sure that you have a product market fit. So one thing about product market fit is that it's not going to be the same product market fit you have in the US as it would be here in Romania, or in your case in the UK, or in the case of your team in Australia. So it's very important that if you just are getting started with a new market, is to first do customer interviews with the best customers that you have in those regions, and try to understand the reason behind their purchasing. Because when someone buys from overseas and continuously buy from overseas, it's clearly that you are giving them some sort of progress in their lives. So you shouldn't be interested to talk to people that just purchased one time or two times. You have to talk to people that are consistent with their purchasing from you, given everything that's that's coming in between, like distance, like long shipping times, like long waiting times, and so on. So yeah, I would start from the customers. I would go very holistic, because before you have to take such a decision to invest in opening in a new market, you have to really take the, how do you call it in English? You have to take the temperature of the people that are there in the market. So the best way to do that is to do RFM segmentation to identify your most valuable customers in that region, and then do interviews with these customers and understand why are they so loyal to you in spite of everything that's happening, from the moment they order and when the moment that they get your product. So that's the first thing I always advise e-commerce brands to do, to talk to the customer in the region, the best customers in the region.
That's amazing. There's so much detail in what you just said, but I think it hadn't really occurred to me to do like one-to-one interviews with the best customers. I had sort of imagined it would be more like a one-to-many approach, where you might use a survey tool or any kind of feedback tool, but you're suggesting going in a one-to-one conversation, doing an interview, doing a face-to-face.
Yeah, so you can always do the survey, because to have product market fit, you need to have enough market to interview to get to that point of impact. Yeah. I totally agree. But if you want to understand how to position a brand in a market, it's a very different thing between having product market fit and how to position in the market. Because a survey, even though it's helpful from a sample size perspective and from an insights perspective, is not going to help you uncover the potential demand in the market. So if you want to understand the demand and uncover it in the specific market, you have to have these conversations with people to understand what type of progress they are making by purchasing your product in spite of everything that comes in between. And as I said, the waiting time, the delays, the distance, the lack of proximity to your brand. So once you know all the things that these people, all the frictions that these people have, and they overcome, just because the outcome that you present with your product and your brand is that good, then you will know how to position in that market better your products and your brand.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I'm assuming it would be a missed opportunity not to talk about cultural norms and try and understand more about the environment that the customers are in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I see so many e-commerce brands fail because they are, people in e-commerce in general are very product centric. So with all the, I guess, grace that I'm capable of phrasing this next thing, I'm going to say that people are not perusing the internet for your product, right?
Yeah,
People are not going to be there just, waking up in the morning and thinking about brand X with this product. People are there looking to feel some, feel a goal that they have, or, hire a product for a job that they have to accomplish.
yeah,
So it's very important to understand that each person that purchases from you has its own story. So when you're selling in a new market, and the best example I can give you is India, actually. If you want to start selling in India, you have to be very mindful of the different languages that they are spoken there, for instance, because there's not the same language, and people from the south have different habits from the ones in the north of India. There's very different approaches, and there's a lot of cultural differences that a brand from United States or from, I don't know, Australia or Europe even would have in that market. So the reason why the surveys won't serve you enough is because you're not getting in touch with the culture. Besides obviously being customer centric and doing this customer research, you should probably work with someone that really understands that market and can warn you about all the aspects, social, economical, demographic aspects that they are, so you can take this decision. But I think that's, I guess, something that I would do after I really understand if it's actually worth for me to go in that market. And that thing you only can find from people that bought from you there.
yeah, absolutely. What you were saying there about local factors and people in different regions having different habits,
Yeah.
what other local factors have you come across that influence customers' potential to purchase?
The first and most important one is the language and the way you are positioning. So, for instance, in Romania, maybe not Romania is not the best example, but in Romania, there's a lot of international brands that are trying to sell. And because, I mean, yeah, there's, of course, the English is spoken widely in Romania. However, not everyone understands it, and not everyone understands the context, the nuance of English. So if you're going to go and try to position smartly, it might work smartly for English speaking countries, but for a Romanian consumer, you might not be able to take your point across. And the same happens if you want to sell in Germany, in Italy, or in France. Because in Germany, Italy, and in France, even though English is a spoken language, there's different nuances that you cannot transmit further to your consumer. So you have to be very, very wary of the country that you plan to sell with, and to understand the language. So the first barrier that some of our customers have, hit a lot of times is the language and how you can communicate with people in the region. Another one is the do's and don'ts from a cultural perspective, like
Yeah.
things, words that you might think are okay to use, but people don't necessarily will not necessarily appreciate. Or for instance, I know a company that I'm not going to give names, but they were selling pizza dough, right? And they were trying to sell it in Italy because they had some they didn't understand, right? They said this is Italian dough, and of course I have to sell it in Italy. And when they tried, people really laughed at them because they were having, like, it was manufactured, of course, and people in Italy are already doing their dough. It's
Mm.
not that hard. So you have to take in consideration all of these things when you are trying to sell in an international market. The cultural differences are huge, are
Yeah.
very, very big. So it's not just language, it's also customs. It's also, I guess, how people live day to day. Like, for instance, I think you probably know in the UK is the same thing. People in north of UK have very different habits than the ones in the south. people in London are very different than ones in Liverpool or Manchester. So it's a very, very different thing when you're trying to go ahead in Europe, where it's such a crazy cultural differentiation from country to country. And the more you go down the east, it's even different.
What do you think would be the outcome of a research project like that, where you find that either your brand doesn't translate well into a local language, or you find that your main differentiator isn't actually that valuable for the market that you're interested in researching? Where do you think you would go from there?
I think I think it's important to work with people that did this before and to work with people that can guide you to this. So there's a lot of agencies in Europe that have customers that are selling internationally, and they help people understand how to position, because they have local experts that can, push you in the right direction. Because sometimes, no matter how much research you do or no matter how much things you think you know, there's the saying that the calculus that you do at home doesn't fit with the one in the marketplace, right? So
Yeah.
this will happen, shit happens. So it's very important that if you undergo this project, to work with an agency that really, really knows what they're doing and can guide you further once you actually take this decision. You have to work with someone from a legislation perspective that understands the legal aspects of the area. This is very important because, for instance, if you want to sell in Romania and if you want to open here, you have to open your own company. You have to pay taxes to the Romanian state. You have to pay different things and lawyers and translators and so on. And it's not just Romania, it's different in any country in Europe, in the European Union. So if you want to go and do this, legit in another country, you have to work with some people that know what they're doing, and don't try to do this on your own. It's not as easy as starting a Shopify website and, just saying, okay, I'm going to start selling everywhere right now. It's not. That's why I like this topic that you guys have selected, because I think there's not enough people that actually talk about how hard it is to actually put in practice this. Because what I'm talking about with product market fit and research and everything, like, yeah, they're great. You have to do them. You cannot just, go ahead and cut a piece of wood before measuring it. But once you measure it and you think, okay, great, I'm going to go and open this market, you really need to work with people that know what the hell they're doing, because otherwise you're going to get fried by bureaucracy, by politics, and different social economical aspects.
Yeah, definitely. I think that is a really important thing to mention about why we're so focused on internationalization as an agency, that we have the experience with all the tools, and we obviously are Shopify Plus experts, but there's a lot more to it than that. There has to be that business built behind it. There has to be the brand. There has to be all of the research.
Yeah, it's super important, and there are not too many people that actually, again, I wish more people would talk about this. You are the first, and I do a lot of podcasts and events every week. You guys are the first ones that actually brought this situation into the light, because a lot of people talk about going international and everyone is doing e-commerce nowadays. But you need a good agency. You cannot do this on your own. You need to work with people that know and how to do it, and they're good at their jobs. So I'm really happy to for the opportunity to have this conversation today.
Amazing. Well, and obviously the point of having this conversation is the overarching umbrella of customer experience. And if we've developed a domestic market for a brand, then they have a certain level of customer experience and they will want to carry that forward. What, in your mind, is the connection between getting that customer experience right and the eventual customer lifetime value?
Again, research. I cannot stress this enough. The thing is this: if you really want to build customer experiences that are tailored on the market and tailored or the needs and cultural aspects of a country that you plan to sell with, or a region that you want to sell with, you cannot go without doing research. You have to make sure you calculate and measure every aspect of the customer's journey and understand all the frictions that your website has, or the product has, or your customer support has. Every layer of customer experience needs to be researched in depth and understand, because otherwise, if you don't measure, you don't know how to fix. So constant research, constant measuring and remeasuring of every touch point of the customer journey. It's important because when you go, even if you are selling in the US and you're a US company, and either if you decide to go and expand internationally, customer experience is your product. So people, you might sell the greatest product, but if your customer experience is bad, people will not stay with you. And the only way you can fix it is by measuring it, and then obviously improving and constantly optimize it. So you can stop. This jobs to be done methodology is something that I really, 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 really advocate a lot in the market, because it's the only way, again, to uncover the demand, understand frictions, understand context, understand why people are hiring your product and your brand. And only knowing this, you know how to position and fix the problems that you have in the customer journey. You want to make sure you research even before the purchase is done. So you want to take the customer and put them on a nice journey and make sure you respect, what they want, when they want it, and how they want it. And I think that's the most important part. If you overcome, of course, whatever it's is before that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that sort of brings me on to the last question I wanted to talk about, which was around monitoring and what you would recommend are the touch points that you absolutely need to start with. I mean, you said there, you should measure absolutely everything, and I completely agree. But I'm thinking about a brand who is, potentially trying to optimize their internal operations and maybe doesn't have the investment to do the full staffing numbers. What are the key points that you recommend looking at?
So I highly encourage understanding the dynamics between pre and post purchase. So to give you a very good and simple example, let's say you open the market in, I don't know, wherever in the UK if you want, and you're selling, I don't know, you're selling weighted blankets, because I like weighted blankets a lot. So they're
amazing.
I know. I have one that I cannot, whatever. So if you are gonna start selling weighted blankets in the UK, first of all, American English is not the same as British English. Please be very wary of that. British people are very conscious about that, because it's a very different culture. You have to be conscious of the English that you offer, and then you want to make sure that, let's say I came on the website, I saw the blanket, I purchased it. Obviously, the reason why I purchased something is because you created some expectations in me that somehow fit with what I want to fill in for a job, or the type of progress that I want to make as a consumer. So you want to make sure you measure the experience that I had with purchasing from your website pre-delivery of the product, to understand what are my expectations. So you should ask me, if it was hard for me to decide if I wanted this blanket. Am I excited for the product? Was the experience okay? What were some frictions? What almost stopped me from buying the blanket? Great. You collect this zero-party data about me. The product is delivered, and then you will notify me that you will come and ask my opinion about the product in a few days, because it takes 7 days in this specific case to actually get used to a weighted blanket. And then at least you set the expectations for me, and if you see that I'm happy about it, is great. Then you can assign me to a flow and try to nurture me. But if I had a bad experience, you might want to get the customer support people in the journey with me and try to help me and fix my problem. Maybe I want to refund, maybe I don't have the right product, maybe I'm not using it right. So it's very important to be very conscious, because there's a lot of parts that are forgotten about customer experience. Most people think it's a website, and then it's the satisfaction score, but it's not. You have the shipping, everything. As right now, and this is something someone told me in my own podcast the other day, and I'm not gonna forget. Right now, we blame the e-commerce brand for everything that happens bad from the moment we order and the moment we get the product. So if you have a bad shipping experience, even if it's not your fault per se, it's your fault. And I'm gonna be mad. So you have to make sure that the shipping, the customer support, everything that's involved in me purchasing from you should be here, because you created expectations and I paid you my money. So the hidden layers of customer experience are shipping, are the delivery, are customer support. And this is where you want to make sure you excel and you create that feeling of convenience and ease to work with. And this is going to help you in any market that you go. People just want serious, honest services. So that's my sense. This is where you should look at. shipping, customer support, and satisfaction scores, measuring these things. Don't forget about them. It's not just the website, it's not just the pop-up, it's not just the newsletter, it's not a discount. People care about value, they don't care about money necessarily. So if you're going to be valuable, make sure you excel into showing yourself as a convenient brand instead of a brand that just tries to sell your product and treats you like a transaction.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that for me is where I feel NPS as a measurement tool can be quite limiting, because if you send a customer an NPS score at the point where they've had the product for a bit and they've used it for a few weeks, the score they give you will be completely will be a compound of every single part of the experience. So it's incredibly hard to then nail down what bits are working and what bits aren't. So
yeah.
I think it's really important that people know that while NPS is great, you have to make sure you're using it correctly so that you can identify any issues.
Yeah, if you're going to open the NPS can of worms, I really want to say this for the record. A lot of people think NPS is just a smiley, sad, and a straight face. It's not. Yeah. Probably it's in SaaS companies. In e-commerce, NPS can be mixed with a lot of one type of liner questions, and can be used by your customer support team, and can be sent by your people, can be actually introduced in a habit forming type of fashion. And it's not just a question on how you're going to recommend me to a friend. No, you can ask someone how comfortable are that they found your product, and to rate how they found. Like, even if the textbook says NPS is just a question to recommend, it's not. You have to be creative. And this is the most important. I'm so happy you brought this up. I'm so happy. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, as a marketer who's come into e-commerce, I think it has been used in the past in a B2B setting as just that single question. And I've always found it frustrating, because the number that it spits out is a compound impression, and it doesn't actually give you anything tangible that you can do anything with. The only thing that you get is the people who are really unhappy, and then you can have to go and find out what it is, when actually you should know, because you've tracked their entire journey through a process and through your website and through your company. So you should know where something has gone wrong. So yeah, that's my main bugbear. That's my soapbox about NPS.
I'm happy. You made my day with this. It's a conversation that I'm always I guess in a way arsed with, I think is the British way to say it, by the conversion rate optimization community. So I'm really happy that you said this right now. NPS is good, but you have to understand that you cannot use it as an average. You have to make sure you use it well, as Sarah said earlier.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're nearly out of time. So I just wanted to ask you one final question. If you could leave our audience with one takeaway about how to think about their international market, what would that be?
Just make sure you think about any market that you plan to sell with. It doesn't matter if it's your backyard or it's, I don't know, Australia or New Zealand. You have to think about product market fit. You have to think about customer research, and you have to understand that the objective of customer research and product market fit is not the revenue. It's just research and product market fit. And once you get those, make sure you work with an agency that really understands internationalization, because it's you won't be able to do it on your own. Work with people that are capable, that know the market, that know how they have the tools, they have the right mindset to help you, and don't try to do this on your own, because it's not going to work no matter the product. You have to be very wary and measure customer lifetime value through RFM segmentation to understand which are the most valuable customers, mix it with surveys that are general, and just uncover the demand in every market.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And for everyone watching, if you want to find out more about what Juliana is saying, and also reference any of the other areas about the internationalization journey, you can go to swankyagency.com/internationalization and download our complete guide to taking your business international. It has everything in there about every topic and every part of the journey that you can reference. And there's also further details in there from Juliana. So thank you so much for being part of this chat. I've really enjoyed it.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me. And please download that ebook, guys. It's a lifesaver, and it's going to save you a lot of money and time.
Yeah, that's the plan. Thanks so much for being here. Bye.